Hi folks, in this video I will take you through how to draw the diagrams for elastic or inelastic demand curve or supply. You can learn this whole idea in two ways. I will take you through the logical presentation first and then a different technique of remembering this whole concept. So talking about the price elasticity of demand, we know what are the two variables here. It is the price and the quantity demanded. So if you're talking about elastic demand, what is elastic demand? A little change in price means a big change in quantity demanded. Logically, this is what it means, and therefore the elasticity of demand here is more than one, and you can take it either ways, P1 and Q1, and this is elastic demand curve. You can see this area is far bigger than this. This is also telling you how the revenue is affected because of price elasticity. So if it is elastic demand, definitely any decrease in price would mean far more increase in revenue. And opposite, if the price increases, the revenue would fall. So revenue and price would go in opposite directions there. And similarly, if you talk about inelastic, logically the same idea. If there is a big change in price, there is a little change in quantity demanded, we say it is inelastic. So Q1 and P1. And this is the demand curve showing inelastic, and you can see that the revenue. So in this situation, in principle, if the price goes down, you can see this, the revenue is actually going down. What is revenue? Price times quantity. And if the price is going up, the revenue is actually going up. So price reduction is not always a strategy. If you think of the branded products, they tend to charge a higher price and get more revenue just because of the customer loyalty, and people may have an inelastic demand for that particular product. So definitely firms can choose to increase or decrease the price based on the elasticity of demand for the product. So get that right. And if you talk about the unitary elastic, the same thing. It has to be just a rectangular hyperbola. As long as the two are equal, the change in price is equal to the change in quantity demanded, and this is unitary elastic. If it is perfectly inelastic or perfectly elastic, either ways you can look around. Perfectly elastic, if you remember the idea, we said no change in price, no action, but only reaction. Yeah, and this is the elasticity is equal to infinity here. And if it is perfectly inelastic, the idea is no change in quantity, but no matter what the change is in the price. So this is here the elasticity is equal to zero. Now, how do I remember this? I don't like diagrams. I don't like logic. Okay, I can still remember this idea very simply just by putting my right arm at a 45-degree angle. We did that before. That is my demand curve, if you remember, right? And how do I remember this? How do I write letter I? Here it is, I, perfectly inelastic. And if I just go on with this demand curve, definitely you're seeing a different hand. If you can raise your right arm at this angle, you would say this is perfectly inelastic. This is perfectly elastic. This is elastic. So if I go in like this on a demand curve like this, it is perfectly elastic, unit elastic, inelastic, and perfectly inelastic. So just by the body language, I can remember this entire idea. That is perfectly inelastic, perfectly elastic. And just on these lines, I can even do the supply curve. Interestingly, the supply curve also, in context of the price and the relation between the two, it is, I need to just replace this with the letters here. If I write down elasticity of supply, and that is if I write down here supply. However, for the others, of course, by the logic, we know it how the demand curve is and how the supply curve is. Supply curve is opposite, so we put it up. If there is big change in elastic, we had made it, so let's do it the other way around. Here, if there is a little change in supply price, but a big change in supply. It is elastic supply curve. This is more than one. If you had to draw the inelastic supply curve, the same logic you can apply, wherein you put in big change in price, but a little change in supply. You can see this here. So this price, quantity, as long as you get this, the directions can be either ways. You can make it PP1, or if you want to show contraction, completely your call. But definitely this is inelastic and this is elastic. So, and unitary elastic, again, a rectangular hyperbola. So you have it here. If I was to change this for the fit, here we go. So if you have the elastic one, they will have exactly the same, about the same. Supply is equal to, elasticity is equal to 1. P1, Q, Q1. So you can do the same thing with the left arm. So if I just had to show the last bit in terms of elasticity, this is perfectly elastic, be it demand, be it supply. And this is perfectly inelastic. So my right arm is my demand curve, my left arm is my supply curve, and this is inelastic. So inelastic, unitary elastic, elastic, and perfectly elastic. So we can do really this dance there. And this is elastic, elastic, unit elastic, inelastic, perfectly inelastic. That's all from me on this one. Thank you.